AM 590, KXSP Omaha's ESPN Radio. It's time for the Metro's only racing talk show. The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Now, here's Dan Taylor, Buddy Ray, and Andrew Kosiski.
Light the candles. Happy birthday, Matt Kenseth. Matt Kenseth becomes the third Sprint Cup driver to win on his birthday. Cale Yarborough did it twice. Kyle Busch has done it. And now Matt Kenseth, who has 41 candles on his cake today.
And that was the call last Sunday afternoon at Las Vegas Motor Speedway on Fox Sports Network. We thank Fox Sports Network for giving us that, and we thank you for joining us on this St. Patrick's Day. We hope you're able to understand what we're saying. I know most of the time nobody really can, and now that alcohol's involved, Lord knows, you probably can't even worse.
Maybe they can understand us now.
That could very well be. Their blood alcohol level needs to be at a certain amount in order to be able to understand what the heck we're saying. We are the Front Stretch Boys in studio. I'm Dan Taylor, Buddy Ray sitting over here, and Andrew Kosiski. Guys, thanks so much for sitting down as always.
What's up?
What's up?
Let's talk about that race on Sunday at Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the Cobalt Tools 400. I thought it was a pretty dang good race. The passing was up, but I think that was a little bit artificial because the qualifying was rained out on Friday afternoon, so a lot of cars, and we were talking about it last Sunday morning, about weather setup, and you couldn't have had different circumstances. Obviously, they didn't get a chance to practice on Friday. They had their test there on Thursday, but then on Saturday, they had to practice Saturday morning to make up for Friday what they missed. And it was cold that morning because they were practicing like 7 in the morning. Well, then they race at 1 p.m. their time on Sunday afternoon, and the temperature is about 15 to 20 degrees hotter. So the track was a lot more slick, not as much grip, and everybody was loose.
I think I heard that term a time or two on the replay or during the race.
During the race, yeah. I was shocked when I saw Clint Boyer trying to go for the lead down into turn 3, I think it was. He got a little bit loose, kind of wiggled, and I thought, okay, he'll fall back a little bit, kind of fix himself, and then get going. 10 laps later, he was 43rd.
Well, I think he had to take a pit, didn't he?
No, not at that point in time. They were at that point in time. They were like, we might as well come in because we're the worst car on the track.
I think that made the race that much funner to watch because they didn't have a lot of major practice time. So when the cars were loose, as we heard all day long, to me, you could really to watch what the guys were going to do to the car, to hear what they were going to do to the cars, and then to anticipate what they were going to do once they came back out on the track. To me, that just made the race that much funner to watch.
I do agree with you a little bit. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree. I like that point where the guys actually had to work this week, but it still wasn't 100% a good passable track. There was one guy that could pass. I think he must have passed 100 cars. I'm talking Casey Kane here.
Man.
I was just getting ready to say that.
He was the only guy that really could just pass. Everybody else, it was kind of, if they passed, it's because that person was doing so bad, they went backwards. It was still kind of an iffy deal, but I did like how everybody was loose and they had to work to make themselves better.
To me, that just made it that much funner. I mean, with the pass, and I think I came in at lap 74, and then I watched the rest of it, and Casey Kane, good Lord, that guy was on a rail.
I think we can all agree that the best car didn't win.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, hands down.
And how the heck he wasn't able to get around Matt Kenseth, I don't know, but that was some great last 25 laps with Matt fighting off Casey for the rest of the race. And then you would hear Matt chime into the radio, talking about the lap cars. Get him down. Get him out of the way. Get him out of the way.
See, to me, I love hearing that stuff because you get to hear the emotion in the drivers' voices. And to me, I could connect with them. I think NASCAR and the drivers and the teams need to open it up a little bit more where we can actually hear the drivers talking. Get them to move, get them out of the way.
Well, and we've listened to the radio, and if you've been to a NASCAR race, you've listened to the radio too. A lot of that stuff you can't air because those boys, sometimes they let a couple of cuss words slip, and you've heard it live on broadcast when they don't have the delay on, and all of a sudden somebody drops an F-bomb or an S-bomb, and they've got to apologize. But no, that was great. I thought the end of the race was really, really good. You talk about 2 different races at Phoenix where everyone kind of settled in and ran their race. But then you see Vegas where there was a lot, the passing was more. It still isn't where you want it to be, but unless you see 5,000 passes in one race, I don't think people are going to be completely happy. But I think this was a very good turn of the tables, I guess is what I'm saying. We went to Phoenix and Daytona, and there wasn't a lot of passing going on. It was kind of like, oh man, is this Gen 6 car going to pay off? And then they get to Vegas, and it was like, okay, this is better. So, and I think actually we should back up a little bit because I don't want to get fined by NASCAR. I think the Gen 6 car is awesome. I want to go ahead and say that because I don't want to get in trouble from NASCAR. So, best sanctioning body in the world, and I think the Gen 6 is awesome, and racing is the best thing in the world.
Oh, shut up. Andrew, what do you have to say?
Of course, like I said earlier, I still don't 100% like him yet, and this week's really going to be tough to say, oh, this is a great car because it's Bristol. There should be passing at a small track like this. But Bristol last year, remember, wasn't that good of a race because they had to, when they redid the track, everybody's like, oh, man, this track's going to be just terrible. And then it turned, everybody's going to be on the bottom, and then all of a sudden everybody was on the top, but there still wasn't a whole lot of passing. So we'll see how good it is this week.
With the car of tomorrow, I remember specifically that when the car of tomorrow debuted, a lot of the drivers did not like the car. It was too big, too boxy, wasn't real aerodynamic. And then all of a sudden, right when we switch over to the Gen 6 cars, a lot of these drivers came back and said, man, this car's great. This car's good. This car, I love this car. This car drove. All it is right now,
and
we have a new car.
Are they talking about the Gen 5 or the Gen 6?
It would be the Gen 5.
Okay.
The previous car, that obviously. But with that being said, just give it time, boys.
Yeah.
Right now, this season, I can tell NASCAR, if Brian France called me up and said, Bud, summarize NASCAR this year. Daytona's boring, single lane. You go to Phoenix, we got the dog leg. You go to Vegas, well, we didn't have any practice time, so God knows what people were doing in their cars. To me, this is an exciting time for NASCAR right now. Bristol, I can't wait for Bristol to get here.
Well, I think people were just a little bit too excited for this Gen 6. They were expecting this to be the solve of all problems. The car isn't the issue at Daytona. To me, it's money. It's that it is too expensive to wreck these cars. Phoenix is a new track, and they're still kind of learning it. Las Vegas was a little bit better, but a lot of the racing excitement was because they had incredibly loose cars. We need to, and what we've been talking about, we need to wait 10 to 15 races because they're not going to jump the gun and start making a ton of changes on these cars because there wasn't a lot of passing at Daytona, and there wasn't a lot of passing at Phoenix, and the passing was up at Vegas, but they're going to sit back and work on it because the first thing, it's in the hands of the teams to figure these cars out to start off with, not NASCAR. NASCAR has given them a good car, a car that everyone agreed during testing in the offseason that this is a good, workable car. So the teams are going to go back and they're going to take the information they learned from Las Vegas and they're going to apply it. And next time we go to Las Vegas in 2014, I think the racing will be a lot better.
Here's the one thing I do like about the Gen 6 cars, and you guys may or may not disagree with me on this. I think right now, granted, out of 43 drivers, we have about 15 or 20 that I would consider superstars in NASCAR. Of those 10 or 15, I think just about all of them right now, the way it sits with the Gen 6 car, any of them could literally win on any given day, given right now. And to me, that's the exciting part of it.
Look at the top 10 in the points. And I apologize, I'm talking about points, and we're 3 races in, about to head to our 4th race of the season. But, I mean, there's drivers up there like Eric Almirola. I don't even know when the last time was I said that guy was in the top 10. But he's had 3 solid weekends. And it's because their organization has had a very good start on this Gen 6, and they've poured a lot of money into this. So it's good to see somebody else up into the top 10 for a little while. We're going to take a quick break, be back around the corner, and we're going to do our section of opinions. We're going to talk about some of the news and notes. You may notice we didn't talk much about Denny Hamlin last weekend. That was because the fine came down on Thursday, and as most of you are well aware, we record on Wednesday nights, so we had to sit there and kind of squirm as we listened to the show on Sunday morning, and we wanted to give our opinion, but show was done and capped, and so we're going to give that when we come up. We're also going to talk about a couple of the issues that have come up in the last week of news and notes. That's just around the corner. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609. 308-383.
This is Andrew from Kaziski Auto Parts. Kaziski Auto Parts is an insurance-quality used parts supplier that can match your foreign or domestic car or truck needs. If you have a damaged or broke-down car or truck, we guarantee a clean and quality part in next-day fashion. Kaziski Auto Parts, your neighborhood premium recycled parts supplier. Call any Kaziski Auto Parts salesman today by dialing 402-731-4592 or visit us at 5040 I Street in Omaha. Kaziski Auto Parts, our quality used parts will match your car or truck's needs.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
We're working the high line into turn 2 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Heading into turn 2 here on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs. Online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. And like it being turn 2, this is kind of our news and notes segment where we're going to talk about some of the different things that have happened in NASCAR. Let's talk about the elephant in the room, the Denny Hamlin fine. Now, I want to clarify that obviously we recorded on Wednesday night, and at the time we had recorded, Denny had not decided whether or not he was going to fight the penalty or not, the fine. And in case I can't imagine you haven't heard about it yet, but Denny Hamlin made some post-race comments at Phoenix. NASCAR did not like them, and Thursday, heading into Las Vegas, fined him $25,000.
You don't have the audio clip, but do you have...
I can't find it at all. I can't find Denny Hamlin's post-race comments. I've got his comments when he...
Because I seen the comment, but I didn't hear the audio. But I did see the comment because they typed it out.
This is what he said after he found out about the fine.
It's an opinion. It's not even a bad one. So I just don't... I have to be careful because I've just got to... I don't want to make things worse than they already are. And this is something that was absolutely nothing. They got blown into something, and it's just going to be worse for them. So I let them deal with it. This is the most upset and angry I've been in a really, really long time about anything. Anything that relates to NASCAR. And the truth is what the truth is. And I don't believe in this. I'm never going to believe in it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm not going to pay the fine. If they suspend me, they suspend me. I don't care at this point.
So that was Thursday before they practiced at Vegas. Denny learned about the fine, and I think Denny is completely right. If NASCAR would have left this alone, nobody would have said anything else about it. And since then, NASCAR has made statements. Robin Pemberton, an official for NASCAR, has said it wasn't necessarily Denny's opinion, but it was his comparison to the Gen 5 car. And I'm going to play devil's advocate because we've had a long time to think about this opinion, and I was pretty upset with NASCAR for doing it because I think they made the wrong decision. But let me take it for your perspective and put it in your shoes as the operations manager at Joe's Karting. You find out that one of your employees, let's say you guys go out and spend a ton of money buying these new carts. You guys have spent a ton of money advertising it, that you've got brand new carts, that they all drive the same, they're fantastic, they're mint condition, and then you find out that one of your employees has gone on Facebook and said these cars are the biggest pile of crap. Would you terminate him?
No. We honestly, we'd want the feedback. If you don't think that the carts are what they say they are, let us know so that way we can try to rectify the situation with the carts.
But he has now gone on Facebook and trashed your new product. In that sense, I don't disagree with NASCAR's decision to penalize him. You know what? I do disagree with his... I guess what I'm trying to say is that I don't disagree with them getting upset about him talking about their brand new product. I just don't agree with the $25,000 fine. Why not pull him into the trailer and say, listen up, son. You need to be out there talking. I mean, this is a good car. We have spent a ton of money. This is our new product. Could you please be positive when you're doing this? And if you have an issue, there's a trailer right here. Come and talk to us about the issue. We'll gladly sit down and talk to you about it.
I agree with you 100%, but I think somebody else is going to say something again, but this might have halted everybody else from saying it. You know what I mean? By fining him right away, nobody else now is going to get fined because I think somebody would say it again that these cars have problems. And really this week in Vegas, the way everybody was driving with how loose everybody was in that might have been something.
Okay, well, let's play role-playing for a second. Andrew, you're Denny Hamlin, and I posed this question on the Facebook page. Fight it or pay it? And I want to spell out the two different... We've learned from Jeremy Mayfield that it's not in your best interest to fight NASCAR, whether or not you are right. We've learned from AJ Allmendinger, it is best to not fight NASCAR, whether you are right or not. Whether AJ could have fought it and won, I think it would have been worse for him to fight it. Instead, he just said, you know what, I made a mistake. I went through the road to recovery, and I'm back. So with that being said, Andrew, you're Denny Hamlin. Do you pay it or do you fight it?
I'd fight it as long as I could, I think.
Yeah. Buddy?
I would fight it, and I did see reports where they said that NASCAR could just take it out of his race winnings. To me, I think it's absolutely BS, just be politically correct on air, that they would even fine Denny for this. I mean, and honestly, and I'm not trying to get on a soapbox here or whatever, but who in the hell is NASCAR to come out right and tell these drivers what they can and can't say?
It's NASCAR's world we live in.
I know, but can you imagine if you're in the NFL, let's say we go back to the golden days where we had Joe Montana. Joe Montana's like, well, I don't like these footballs. They don't fly very far in the air even when I throw them. And, well, this team sucks. And you don't get fined for that. You're just...
They do. They do, and they have. Watch it every time they say anything bad about the officials, about the officiating. They get slapped with massive fines.
Yeah, but with something like this, I think this is just NASCAR getting a little too communist-like.
I do agree with you on a sense, but I do also want to bring up, and there's been a lot of talk about this. I saw it on Facebook and on some of the shows I listen to. Some people have called in and say, well, what about the right of freedom of speech? You don't have the freedom of speech when it comes to your employer. I am happily employed by Journal Broadcast, but if I go on and I go and trash Journal Broadcast, they have the right to fine me. The Bill of Rights only protects you from the government. It does not protect you from your employer.
But NASCAR is not Denny Hamlin's employer.
Yes, they are.
NASCAR isn't.
They pay
his team owner is.
They could. He gets a license from them. They could choose to revoke his license, essentially firing him.
Nah, I don't think. No.
When I saw this come out, it goes back to a quote of a driver I heard a long time ago that got fined for saying the exact same thing. And during the next race, they shoved a microphone in his face and said, "What do you think about the fines?" And he said, "You know what? It's NASCAR's ball. It's NASCAR's court. It's NASCAR's game. I'm just here to play." And they can really do what they want. And I mean, this is my whole point about this conversation is, if I'm Denny Hamlin, I would have a tough time swallowing it, but I think it would be better for me if I go ahead and pay the fine and just walk away. Because you're not going to win with NASCAR. Whether you go and sue them and you win your $25,000 back, you're not going to win with NASCAR.
You know what we ought to do? As I've got the comment right here in my hand of what Denny Hamlin said that cost him $25,000, maybe on our Facebook page we should let our listeners chime in and give us their opinions.
We did.
Oh.
Welcome to the club.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello.
We've been having conversations with them all day. And of course, we recorded Wednesday night, and we've had a couple of people that have chimed in on it. So, yeah, we did. That was during the argument I had with you about being a dirty driver at Joe's Karting.
I am not dirty.
Is he a dirty driver at Joe's Karting?
I've never raced against him. He's always been behind me.
The only reason why I'm behind you, son, is because I'm...
All right, topic number 2. I'm just going to save you from yourself, bud. Topic number 2. I thought about this as soon as Matt Kenseth crossed the start-finish line. Maybe I'm coming down hard on the former driver of the number 20 car, but feel free to tell me if I am. You're Joey Logano sitting there driving the number 22, and all of a sudden, Matt Kenseth has won in his third try in your equipment, your team, in your former crew chief, former everything, obviously. Are you sitting there as Joey Logano thinking, oh my God, how did he manage to win so fast in what I had last year, and yet I could only get it done once or twice in 5 years?
Let me add, not only that, he was also one of the slowest cars in the short amount of practice they had.
Right. Matt Kenseth. Yeah. So, okay, if you guys are Joey Logano, are you questioning your
ability,
legitimacy in the Cup Series or not, Andrew?
No, not yet. I think maybe just the crew chief. Matt Kenseth's a veteran. Maybe they just kind of get together a little better. Maybe Joey can't explain what the car's doing.
I couldn't say it better.
But yeah. I ain't saying Joey Logano's a bad driver by no means, because I think he's actually pretty good, but he's not a Matt Kenseth yet. He might not ever be.
And that's true. But my whole kicker is that it's been 3 races. And it's been 3 straight races that Matt has been up front at any given time. Granted, he blew an engine at Daytona, finished 8th at Phoenix, and he won the race at Las Vegas.
The crew chief that Matt Kenseth has now, was that
Jason
the crew
Ratcliffe, yeah.
Was that the crew chief for Logano?
Yep. It was Logano's
here's
crew chief.
my question.
It was Logano's crew chief during 2012.
Okay.
Greg Zipadelli was 2011 to what? Right. 08, I think?
Yeah. Well, here's what I'm getting at. I don't know if it's fair to sit there and ask yourself, if you're Joey Logano, are you questioning your legitimacy as being a NASCAR driver? What I'm wondering is, and it's kind of going off of what Andrew just said, with Matt Kenseth being a veteran driver, he's already a Cup champion, the maturity level there, are they not clicking, whereas Jason and Joey did? And I'm not saying that Joey's a bad person. Maybe that just wasn't a right fit. I mean, honestly, You take Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson. Would Chad Knaus and Tony Stewart click just as well as Chad Knaus and Jimmy Johnson?
Click or win?
Click and win.
I think they would win. I think they would have their disagreements.
Yes. But what I'm getting at, do you see, Chad Knaus goes to any other driver. Do they win within 3 races? No.
It's tough to say. If he goes to some, in your top 15 drivers, yeah, I think they do. Because Chad Knaus has had Jimmy Johnson. Oh, gee, I can't think of his name. Has had Jimmy Johnson up there competing every single race this year. I think exactly because Chad Knaus had Jimmy a great car at Las Vegas when everybody outside of the top 5 had crappy cars. Yet he was able to get him a great car.
See, I'm just wondering if there's just not a little bit of a managerial, psychological factor there that really helps in that organization.
I think Joey Logano has been rattled. I think he was brought up into the Cup Series way too soon, and he was put into the shoes of an enormous shoe. I mean, he had to fill enormous shoes.
Tony
it's not
Stewart,
easy to.
I mean, it's huge. Wasn't it Tony?
Yeah, I thought you were mocking me.
Oh no,
because I have a tendency to gush on Tony a little bit. But no, it's a at that time 2-time Cup champion. The guy is regarded as probably one of the best drivers of our generation. And all of a sudden, you're this up and coming. And what's your nickname? Sliced bread. How many races?
Not only that, you're recruited by Mark Martin, a living legend.
He'd only raced like 6 races in Nationwide at that point in time. And he's thrown into this major ride at a huge organization. I think the pressure got to him. Honestly, and I think it has damaged him. I want to take the exact example of Elliott Sadler, who was given his chance up in the Cup. It didn't work out. He had to go all the way back to the Truck Series and is now working his way back up. And I think in 2 or 3 years, Elliott's going to get himself a good ride up in the Cup Series and is going to do a lot better because he's going to be better prepared. I just think that Joey wasn't prepared for it, and we're seeing the repercussions of this. Let's wrap it up. We'll head over to turn number 3, and we're going to talk with Jerry Hoffman. I tell you what. That says it all. This was one of the more entertaining conversations we have had in a very long time. Jerry Hoffman, creator of Hoffman Chassis. Did I say that right?
H3 Hoffman Chassis and the owner of Dirtworks and loves ice cream.
Bringing back the Dirtworks chassis, which, Bud, you're all sorts of floored about.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll talk with Jerry, and then in turn 4, we'll preview Bristol Motor Speedway. It's the front stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
Bring the hottest gift to the gift exchange by bringing a gift card to Quaker Steak and Lube. Now through December 25th, for every $25 gift card purchase to the Lube, score a $5 bonus card free. Give the gift of Lube Lube and the Best Wings USA with gift cards to the Lube. Now through December 25th, every $25 card purchase gets you a $5 bonus card free. Treat yourself and your friends this holiday season and grab your gift cards to Quaker Steak and Lube, 3220 Mid-America Drive in Council Bluffs. More info at thelube.com.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
This week's Legend of Tomorrow on the front stretch is Cody Ledger, a 16-year-old at Burke High School, where he loves to play football and lacrosse. Cody started racing in 2003 at the ripe old age of 7. Cody first tried his hand at junior sprints, and in his first year was awarded Rookie of the Year from the National Modified Midget Association. Just 2 years later, Cody was crowned the National Points Champion of the National Modified Midget Association. From 06 to 2011, he ran Outlaw Micro Sprints and also got a few turns in a midget sprint car. Last year, Cody started racing 360 sprints at Eagle Raceway, where he quickly gained the respect of the veterans. This year, Cody has 31 races scheduled in 3 different series: the ASCS Midwest Sprints, Nebraska 360s, and the Power Eye National Midget Sprints. Keep your eye on Cody Ledger as he wheels his sprint cars around the dirt tracks in the Midwest. He's this week's Legend of Tomorrow.
Time to grab another tear-off and make your move. We're headed into Turn 3 on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting.
Heading into Turn 3, and as always, we sit down and have a conversation with somebody in the dirt or racing world, and tonight we're talking with the owner of Dirtworks Chassis, Jerry Hoffman. Jerry, thank you so much for sitting down with us.
Hey, no problem. Thanks for having me on the show, guys.
How's your week going, Jerry?
I'll tell you what, so far Monday it went pretty good. Pretty busy today on the phone. A little cold outside. We got some rain coming in, a little snow, so you might have a little trouble scotching her up tonight because it's going to get a little icy around these parts.
Where are you guys located at?
We're just located north of Joplin, Missouri, in the 3rd largest growing town in Missouri called Oronogo. That's Oronogo. Some of the fastest dirt modifieds are built right here in this town.
All right.
No, I can't even say that.
Anorgo?
Oronogo.
Oronogo?
That sounds like the beginning of a joke.
I tell them we're just north of I-44 and west of I-49, so if they can get over there, they'll find us.
All right. Jerry, give us a little bit of history behind Dirtworks. I know I'm reading up on your guys' website about the history, but let's hear it from the horse's mouth. I'm pretty sure you know a pretty good history of this company, so how did it get founded, who started it, and talk a little bit about the history.
Years ago, a guy by the name of Gary Bass went up to Iowa and got a car, and I don't know exactly the year he done that. I think it was probably back in the 80s, somewhere in there. He went up and got a car, modified, what they called it up there, something back Steve Kanak and them guys was running the modified, the old Pinto-looking cars. We had a lot of salvage yard parts on them and bought one back here, actually down just by Monat, somewhere in that area. They had them looked at it and built their own car. And Rex Merritt was in on it back then, I think, helping Gary out.
Yep.
Gene Roper, Dale Roper actually was, drove one of the house cars. And they kind of got him down in this area, and then Bass had it for a few years, and they just grew. I mean, they was actually getting bigger than he could take care of. He got him talking to Mike Clark, and Mike Clark started to bracket they would actually build the cars in Walker, and then they would ship them. Mike told me he'd take all 3 at a time down to Bass and Monat, and then Bass would end up putting the rest of the brackets on them. And then they got busy down there where they couldn't really get the brackets on them, so they started putting a lot of the brackets on them up at Walker. And then when the business come up for sale, Mike couldn't really afford to get it right then, so a guy by the name of Kelly Brammer bought it. Brammer bought the business from Bass, and then him and Mike had a deal worked out. And while they was doing that, Mike was doing parts trucks. Years ago when you went to the racetrack, I think Speedway's probably about your biggest speed shop. There wasn't all the mail order magazines like there is now. But, you had a parts truck at the racetrack because, nobody usually had stuff. So Mike was servicing 3 or 4 tracks a night with parts trucks, selling fuel and tires and stuff like that. He got his business going pretty good like that. And then the business come up for sale from Brammer, and Mike brought it from Brammer. And I forget what car they was actually on when he bought it. I know when I went to work there, they was on car like 494 when I went to work there, and it was around 95. And because I remember when we were on our 500th car, Phyllis went to town and got an ice cream cake from Dairy Queen, and it had car number 500 on it.
Despite how cold it is out, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, it'd be a little chilly tonight.
You got this fat guy wanting an ice cream cake from DQ now.
Well, he's going to have to cut back now. I've had to cut back. I've lost 28 1/4 pounds cutting back because I'm going to race me a midget at the Chili Bowl this year.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, it's something I've wanted to do since I was a junior in high school. I've always been too big to fit my big ass in one.
Now, we've learned from a former co-host and a former helper of the show that plenty of Land O'Lakes will get you through just about any window.
Yeah, that's right. That's what the old boy said when he said he's going to let me drive it. He said, you're going to have to change the seat. And I said, no, just leave the seat in there. I'll lose me 75 pounds and I'll fit in there. He said, you think you can? I said, well, I'm going to have to or I won't drive it.
I'll tell you what, I'll eat your portion of the ice cream cake then. I don't have to fit in any windows but my Rangers.
I was just thinking, Jerry, you go ahead and eat the ice cream cake and I'll race under your name.
Oh, no, I wouldn't let you do that.
Yeah, you don't want that. You don't want to tarnish your name.
That'd be like having a good-looking wife and telling you to come over and visit me. Shoot, I'll take care of myself. I appreciate the offer, little buddy. But back on the story. I remember that on 500.
Let's get back on track here.
Brammer, $100 a car there for a while. And I remember the last time, I don't remember what number it was, but I remember Mike telling me, this is the last time I've got to do that, because it was part of the deal. We had to give him so much a car. And it was, I don't know what car it was. I remember Mike saying that right there in the shop at the corner of the building, said, this is the last time I've got to give him the money to pay the deal off. So I got a lot of the history there, and so I was there for a while, and I think I actually got fired on sometime car number around, I don't know. It was in July of 99 when Mike just said we needed to part ways on his terms now. It was one of them deals you just never know what's going to happen in life, and he just said it was time for us to split ways. So one morning I had a job, and the same morning I was told to go home. It was a lonely old day.
Sounds like a lot of people.
Life goes on, and it makes you tougher.
Yeah. Sounds like
Mike, back then they was building, we was building over 100 cars, and they got up to build 200 cars as things got busier. But, I mean, years ago, that was just a household name if you had a dirt modified with a Dirtworks race car.
Yeah.
And Mike done more people probably for more racers, and they know who I'm talking about. I don't need to say no names. There's a lot of racers out there that couldn't have raced at that time if it wasn't for Mike, including me.
Mm-hmm.
Including me. He done a lot for me.
So you left Dirtworks and started your own race company, Hoffman Race Cars?
Well, let's just say the morning I got told to leave, I didn't know what in the hell I was going to do. I had to do something, so I started building cars here. And actually, at first, I was building the bumpers here still at home. I was doing the crash jobs here at my shop at home, here. And Mike was sending them to me. And then I could build a car, and I had to give Mike X amount of dollars, and I'd get a tag that said Dirtworks Race Cars, HRC. But it just didn't seem to work out there between me and Mike on that deal because I had a couple guys that didn't want no tags. They wanted a Jerry Hoffman race car. Me and Mike didn't see eye to eye on that deal. He wanted me to give him the money for a tag, and that's the heck it all worked out. And Mike just told me that to go ahead and build them on my own, and I said, okay, I will. So I did, but tell you what, he still helped me out. People, he was hard on me at times, but the day he fired me, he looked me right in the eye, and he said, just go ahead and do your own deal. He said, you're a hard enough worker, and you're smart enough, you can do it.
You don't.
He said, if you ever need something, I'll help you.
You don't get that nowadays. You get, hey, you're fired, and by the way, you've got a 1-year no compete.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I just told to go home, and he did help me. I'll tell you a deal. I was in a burn unit in Springfield, Missouri. I got burned here at my shop, and Mike called me, and I had a bad attitude when he called me because I still had a little grudge towards him, for getting fired like that when you cared about somebody.
Right.
He asked if I needed anything, and I was a little bit of a butthole to him. I said, no, that's all right. I said, I can't believe you're calling me after you fired me like this, but I said, I appreciate you calling. And I laid there a little bit, and I was pretty drugged up on the narcotics they give you when you're burnt like that because you're in pretty much pain.
Right.
And I sat there, I said, you know what, Kathy? I said, dial Mike back. I do need something. The guys here at the shop was building cars, Scott Drake and Jimmy Wilcom, guy that works for me, and Ed Potts working for me. They was building cars, and I was basically building the cars before then, and they were just kind of helping me. And we didn't have no tubing notcher. We just using a chop saw because that's all we knew up there at Dirtworks. You just use it with chop saw. And they had just got a tubing notcher up there. And I called Mike back, and I said, Mike, I'll tell you what I need. I need a tubing notcher. He said, okay. In 2 days, the guys at the shop called me and said, hey, there's a Miller Brothers tubing notcher here on the front porch.
Wow.
I said, good, get it out and use it.
Get to work.
So they used her, and they built cars while I was laid up there, and that was pretty neat. I thought of Mike to do that. So, a guy shouldn't hold a grudge. Life's too short. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Just live, love, and laugh, and be happy for what you got, and you don't ever know what's going to happen. So,
Jerry,
there's a lot of history there between me and Mike. A lot of people don't know.
Let's fast forward quite a few years here. Here it is, 2012. Last year, I believe it was late 2012. You made the announcement that Dirtworks was coming back. After having a successful run in your H3 Hoffman cars and having a lot of success there, why bring back the Dirtworks and have both two different style of cars?
It's just a name. I mean, the Dirtworks name is just like, drinking a Pepsi to me. The name meant a lot to me. And when Gary wrote that Gary actually wrote the article for me in the Builder's Guide. And when he wrote that, he wrote that straight from his heart. And I mean, it's a lot of people that I've talked to have sent me messages on Facebook or called and talked to me and said, you know what, I'm glad you got it because that name meant a lot to us. And you can ask, I guarantee you know how many people know the phone number for up there. And there at the end, after Mike passed away and Phyllis didn't want nothing to do with the business, and Gary just really wasn't into it after some things in his life. He was sitting laying there dormant. And, I asked Gary what he was going to do with it, and we put a deal together, and I bought the name and the phone number. And it's really hard to change our Hoffman cars right now, I feel, because they go good. I mean, they're basically a modern-day DW8 with some changes, That's what we build. There's something I need to do, but I haven't figured it out yet because we've sold 2 cars basically off the Dirtworks deal. We still take care of all the dirt. I get guys call up here wanting to order a car, so they've always wanted a Dirtworks car. They don't even know Mike's died. I get people calling, don't want to talk to Mike. They don't even know he's passed away. So
wow.
We're building the Dirtworks car, the DW11, the Genesis, whatever guy wants, but a lot of them want a DW8. So I say, what we build now for a DW8 basically be my car today, because things are going to change and progress through times, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's what we've done. And sometime maybe I need to build a new car and call it something, but I don't know what I'll call it yet. Maybe we're so busy now, I just don't have time to stop and change anything, because it's what's working now. You take any of them guys that run US MTS series, that's my problem. My guys that race, I'm happy for all of them. I'm proud of all of them, all my customers. But mine's your lower-end, mid-range customer guys, where I don't have the guys that have a bunch of money that can run US MTS, or the guys that drive US MTS that's usually spending somebody else's money to be able to race US MTS. I don't have a lot of them guys. But if I had one of them guys that could do it, I guarantee you our cars would run right there with them, and I hope it outrun them a lot of times.
How involved are you in the process? Are you down at the tracks in the weeks watching your guys' cars race and maybe coming up with new ideas on how to tweak one little part of it? And how much input do the drivers have? Maybe if you move this bar here, it would help with the chassis setup. How involved is that whole process?
Oh, yeah, I'm involved with it. I don't get to race as much as I used to because I got dang back problems. I got L3 and L4 and L5 herniated and put on 75 pounds. So it's just hard on me to drive like I used to, but I'm feeling better. I'm going to race a little more this year. But I got a neighbor of mine, Bobby Parrish, has one of my cars, and I usually drive it 1, 2, or 3 times a year, and I hot lap it from time to time at the racetrack. And I got a car right here that I'm involved with so I can see what's working and what isn't and make sure everything's clear, and then all the clearances on everything, on the bars and the coilovers and all that stuff is working right. So that's what's good for me to have that. Plus, I listen to a lot of guys when they're out there driving the cars. You guys have a big difference of the big parachute that some series is run on the back of the spoilers, and then you got the other places that don't let you run the spoilers. So you got some different chassis tuning you got to do depending on what series they're running. You
say you've actually sold 2 Dirtworks already this year?
Yeah, that was basically just called because of the Dirtworks line, yeah. We got a landline cell phone transfer is what we got. It rings in CenturyLink and to Walker, and then it's transferred to here to our shop. So it's just the way they had to do it.
I know, Dan, as you know, being a track announcer, I race a Dirtworks. And
is that something you want him to admit?
Well, are you? Yeah, it don't matter. Are you very good?
No, not really. I finished 4th in points this year.
Well, that's all right. It's better than 5th.
Well, yeah, it's better than 5th.
It don't matter. Here's another deal that people don't realize. Years ago, when I was a kid growing up, if you shopped at Walmart, you didn't use people used just a lower end place to shop. Walmart years ago, it's the way it was. If you wanted to be a high end, highfalutin, no boy, you went to the mall. The Gap or GQ or Famous Bar, one of them deals. It's the same ways in racing. There's a lot of them guys that's got a lot of money that want to do business with people that's got a lot of money, have that higher end $20,000 race car. But there's a lot of guys that don't have $20,000 to buy a race car. They got to find a used car that's on a cheaper end so they can race and do something they love to do as a hobby, Or they can only afford, like our cars are $17,000 for a roller. They can only afford that. They can't afford that $5,000 more.
Yeah.
So we take care of anybody. It don't matter. But most of our customers are the mid-range guys down because our cars can resell and then they can get a used car because they can't afford that $100 car.
But how long you been running your Dirtworks?
That's the way it is. And that fourth, fifth place guy in points, heck, I'm just as proud as that old boy if he's having fun and racing and going good as a guy that's winning the points, you know what I mean?
About how long you been running your Dirtworks?
I've actually been running my Dirtworks. I've always wanted one of these. The one thing, and Jerry, he said it best, that the Dirtworks has a name. Just like Jerry likes to drink Pepsi, I like to drink Dr. Pepper, the brand name. Now, with the Dirtworks, I always wanted a Dirtworks. Another good friend of mine, I think, Jerry, you've raced against him, Scott Carlson. He had a Dirtworks for a number of years. I've always seen these cars run. They were the car to have back in the mid to late 90s. So I got one I got one in 2012, and that Dirtworks, the first time I went to Crawford County Speedway at practice, I sat in that car. I came in. I was white as a ghost. My knees were shaking. And I looked at Dad. I was like, did I really just go that fast? He's like, son, that was the fastest I think I've ever seen you gone. So, I mean, that Dirtworks. I love my Dirtworks, and anybody that knows me knows I love me some Dirtworks.
Well, good. Now, you run A mod or B mod, or what are you running?
IMC Northern Sport Mod.
Northern Sport Mod, hey, yeah. You know, that B mod deal is going to, I mean, there's a place in there's just a place for everything. There's a place for the guy that can spend the money, run the outlaw stuff, but for your average racer that wants to race and do it economically and have fun, that B mod deal is the best thing going around about everywhere.
How challenging is it for you to keep your chassis reasonably priced at I think you said the $17,000 range, yet still keep competitive? We've seen a lot of this in the sport that somebody goes out and spends $30,000 for building a chassis, and so everybody that's down at the $15,000 range has to start investing a little bit more into it and making their cars a little bit more. So have you had a big challenge with keeping your cars at that reasonable price?
It is. I mean, $17,000 is our top of the line. I mean, we're talking, you know, the top end bulb shocks. You know, the most expensive cars I really build is, you know, $17,000. You know, we got to. There's the same thing I can say for $15,000 by just changing some shocks and some bird cages to get the price down a little bit and some other things. But it's hard because everything's going up. I mean, nothing's getting cheaper. I think the only thing that's really got cheaper in the world I can think of is a cell phone plan. I remember years ago they was high dollar. Now they're cheaper than what they used to be.
Is it possible for someone to bring, say, a 98 DW8 or a 2009 Genesis, 2010 DW11, regardless of whatever it is, Dirtworks, is it possible to bring the older cars to you, to Dirtworks, and have you guys do up-to-date updates with them?
Sure, oh yeah. You wouldn't believe the people that's buying 4-bar mounts from me to update their 4-bar mounts to a bracket like what we put on our Hoffman cars. That's 5/8 holes, got more of a radius, more holes in the plugs, 3 different holes in your little shock, your plug extension for your lower trailing arms. So yeah, we can about update anything.
Jerry, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best way to make contact with you?
417-465-2410, 417-673-7426.
You got a website?
Hoffman Race Cars or Dirtworks Race Cars.
All righty. You got a Facebook?
Oh, yeah, we got a Facebook page. I tell you what, I used to think that was stupid, Facebook. But, buddy, I tell you what, that face page is something good to have.
I know. I hear about it from my employees all the time because I'm constantly on it, Jerry.
Yeah, Jerry Hoffman on my face page, or you like Cecil's fan page. He's a buddy of mine, old Cecil's.
Yeah.
Cecil's is an entertainer. He's a buddy of mine. And he just likes to have fun and cut up and hoot and holler and puts little YouTube videos on YouTube. And
Is he the one that parodies the songs? Or am I thinking of somebody else?
Songs?
Who's the country guy that parodies all the songs?
Oh,
he's like
that's Rodney Carrington.
No, he's a country version of.
Yeah, he's from over here, about 2 hours from me in Tulsa. Here, I've never met him yet.
Either way, I think I'm thinking of the wrong guy, but they can find you.
You're talking about old J.W. McCall or something like that.
Nah, dang it.
J.W. McCall.
Yeah, that might be it.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
All right, well, hey, we appreciate you joining us. We appreciate the time. And again, website is dirtworksracecars.com or hoffmanracecars.com.
Yes, sir. Either one will get you to the same page.
All right, Jerry, take it easy and don't get in too much trouble this year, all right?
Hey, we won't. Thank you guys for calling.
Jerry Hoffman, owner of the Dirtworks and Hoffman Race Cars. And I tell you what, I'm going to wrap up Turn 4 real quick because I want to get me down to DQ and get me an ice cream now. I got to give me one of them ice cream cakes. This fat guy's ready to get out of the show now.
He's a who, isn't he? I tell you what, though, to have Dirtworks come back, this is what I liken it to. Imagine if Hendricks Motorsports went out of business 10 years from now, somebody said, you know what, I'm going to bring back Hendricks Motorsports. That is the best analogy I can get for dirt track racing with the Dirtworks name.
And hopefully you'll continue to have success with yours in 2013. We got to head into Turn 4 and wrap the show up. We'll be right back. This is The Front Stretch, presented by Joe's Karting on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
The Silver Dollar Nationals are returning to I-80 Speedway on July 18th, 19th, and 20th. Don't miss the nation's top USMTS, MLRA, and Lucas Oil dirt late model racers as they compete at Nebraska's fastest track. Come watch the nation's best dirt track racers compete for a $27,000 to win payout. Ticket prices and packages at 402-342-3453. The third annual Silver Dollar Nationals at I-80 Speedway, July 18th, 19th, and 20th.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.
Get ready for the victory lap as we make our way into Turn 4 on the front stretch. Presented by Joe's Karting. Online at joeskarting.com.
Just one more turn to go. It is Turn 4 here on the front stretch, presented by Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs, online at joeskarting.com. That's karting with a K. Bristol Motor Speedway, green flag is just a few hours away. Let's do the NASCAR breakdown presented by Koziski Auto Parts. Your dad's going to be in here next week, actually. Talk about the spring meltdown.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I need to let him know so he can schedule and make sure he's available.
Forget, yeah.
I have to text him about 4 or 5 times, but
usually.
Let's talk about Bristol Motor Speedway. The picks last week, I'll kind of recap those a little bit. Andrew, you took Carl Edwards, who finished 8th?
5th.
5th, right. And Bud, you took Jimmy Johnson, who finished 6th. And I took Tony Stewart, who finished 11th. So I'm going to pick first.
The birds are flying in the studio.
Birds are flying in the studio. Who's flipping who off?
Well, Bud just flipped me off.
Oh, because you, yeah.
He forgot who I picked.
Current point standings, Andrew's in the lead with 92, Bud's in second with 85, and I'm pulling up the rear, 76 points. Oh, I pull up the rear. So that means I'm going to be picking, because my driver came in last, which honestly, when I saw he finished 11th, I was like, all right. I was thinking somewhere in the 40s is where Tony was going to finish by the way he was running.
He was about 25th all day a lap.
Oh my God.
I thought the same thing.
Was he one of them that suffered with an extremely loose car?
He his quote, and I'll clean it up a little bit. Loose, oh my, loose. This car is loose. It's like it's driving on top of the track. It's so loose.
You know, we're only three races getting ready to go into Bristol here in a few hours, but does it not seem like that Tony is struggling right out of the chute gate with his Gen 6 car?
Yeah. Well, and he didn't have a banner year last year. He made the chase with 5 wins, but it wasn't a big year for him. And was it Ryan lost an engine? Danica can't drive a loose car, and nobody could drive a loose car. I mean, my defense to Danica is that Clint Boyer went from second to 43rd in 10 laps. She went from 36th to 33rd in 50 laps. So she kind of did better than Clint, but Clint ended up finishing the race better than her. But anyways, no, Stewart-Haas Racing they're not adapting well to the changes. But, no. Back to the picks. I picked first since my guy came in third, and I'm going to take Jeff Gordon. He did great there at the short tracks both times last year. He's struggling so far this year, but I think Hendrick has a handle on these Gen 6 cars, and I think Gordon will be able to get down there. And I think he's got a little bit of a vendetta that he needs to get himself a win at Bristol after what happened with Clint Boyer trying to go 3 wide. Bud, you're second. Who are you taking?
I'm taking last year's winner, I believe, Brad Keselowski.
Going with the Blue Deuce.
The Blue Deuce. He's been looking pretty good this year. I mean, they're adapting pretty well.
I got to give it to them. They are. They really are. Andrew, who do you have?
I was actually going to take Kez right there, too. Bud kind of just took me, but that's what I get for beating him last week. So
I cock-blocked you.
I think the guy that was the fastest this week is going to be it again, Casey Kane.
You're going to take Kane?
You betcha.
All right, got the 5 card down. Be sure to tune into our Facebook page on Sundays. We'll keep you up to date with what's going on with the race. If you're out and about and you're not able to get it, you can always become a fan of us on Facebook, and we will we'll kind of give you lap by lap, or not lap by lap, but we kind of break it down every 100 laps or so. And Bristol's going to be interesting. These cars are meant for intermediate tracks, and it'll be interesting to see what these guys can do on the short tracks at Bristol Motor Speedway. We'll see if we have any fireworks. I don't think we're going to. Usually the early Bristol race, not a lot of fireworks. they save it for later in the year when things are really on the line.
Yeah, but right now, so far in 2013, we've seen a lot of fireworks in a lot of different areas, and it would shock me if we didn't see some at Bristol.
I mean, if the cars come out again, they're loose just like last week. I mean, that could really put a big turn on Bristol, and that might help Bristol a ton, and it might help racing a ton, because I think a lot of guys are going to want a loose car.
Yeah.
So they're going to want to bring back what they got, but
I kind of feel like that loose was just a simple result of the weather. They practiced and tested in colder weather, and then all of a sudden, because it was locked down, they could not make any adjustments after Saturday. So when they hopped in their cars, they had everything set up for what they were expecting to be cloudy and colder conditions. Turns out that overnight it cleared up. There was sun, and it was actually warmer. So I think that was just simply a result of the weather, but we'll see. Yeah,
I say load up the car the same way it was set up leaving Vegas and bring it to Bristol.
I agree with you on that one.
You can always catch us down. I know we talked about possibly being down at Quaker Steak and Lube last weekend, but because of the snowstorm that hit, and I had no idea it was supposed to snow on Sunday. Up until Saturday night when I got warnings on my tablet when I was sitting there watching the nationwide race and some of the recaps, all of a sudden I'm seeing this winter weather advisory coming across, and I'm like, what is going on? All of a sudden a blizzard hit. So barring any major catastrophes, I think I'm going to make my way down to Quaker Steak and Lube this Sunday and watch the Bristol race. So hope to see you down there. They are the official watering hole of the front stretch, and great beer specials, great wing specials down there, and you can never beat America's best wings. Quaker Steak and Lube in Council Bluffs, just right down the road from Joe's Karting. My favorite times is heading over to Quaker Steak and Lube, getting a little eat, maybe a little lubed up, head over to Joe's Karting and watch some racing, because I do not race drunk.
Do not look at me when you say you like to get lubed up.
Yeah,
and on that note,
kind of weird.
And on that note, we're going to wrap it up. Thanks so much for joining us. We greatly appreciate it. We'll be back next weekend where we're going to sit down with Joe Koziski and talk the spring meltdown at I-80. We're going to talk STP Gas Guzzler 500, and we're going to talk about how the picks went. This has been The Front Stretch on AM 590, Omaha's ESPN Radio.
In 1999, Wade Cross decided he was tired of overpaying for shocks, so he created FX Shocks. Now FX suspension customers reach across the United States with countless wins and championships, including national champion in 3 major IMCA classes, plus Super Nationals champions in all 4 of the Saturday night's main events. Get your FX Shocks today. One-on-one consultation is waiting for you at 308-383-9609. 308-383.
Are you ready for fast-paced, adrenaline-pumping, wheel-to-wheel racing right here in the Metro? Get to Joe's Karting in Council Bluffs and see what it's like to race real go-karts. Joe's Karting knows it's no fun to race go-karts at 10 miles per hour, so they ripped the governors out, and now the only restriction is how good you are at racing. It's full-throttle, white-knuckle racing every day of the week. Head over to joeskarting.com for hours, prices, and specials, or give Buddy a call today and set up your group races at 712-256-5278.